You're awake, running the numbers for the hundredth time. Mortgage, car, groceries. You've done this every single week for 3 years. You're waiting for a financial break that simply isn't coming. Meanwhile, your neighbor, same street, same income, took last Tuesday off. No crisis, no email to his boss. He just didn't feel like working. He isn't richer than you. He just doesn't have a mortgage payment anymore. Today, we're dissecting how your 30-year mortgage is destroying your health, your brain, and your career. In this video, I'm showing you the data on exactly what changes the day your house debt hits zero. How many years have you been stuck in this cycle? Comment your age and which state you're paying a mortgage in right now. 8. The mathematics of strangulation. Let us strip away the sentimentality of home ownership and look at the raw data. The average monthly mortgage payment in 2025 has surged to $2,129. For those who entered the market or refinanced recently, that figure is closer to $2,145. When you consider that the median American household takes home approximately $5,400 after taxes and mandatory deductions, the reality is staggering. A standard mortgage is currently consuming 43% of the average family disposable income. Every financial institution on Wall Street agrees that the ceiling for stability is 28%. This means the vast majority of the population is operating 15 percentage points over the red line every single month for 30 years. You are not just a homeowner, you are a functioning adult who has signed a contract to be financially strangled in slow motion until the age of 63. You have traded 3 decades of your peak physical and mental years for the privilege of occupying a box made of wood and shingles. Consider a hypothetical case study that mirrors the reality of many watching this. The builders. This is a dual-income household earning $110,000 a year. On paper, they are successful. In reality, they are prisoners. After taxes and a modest retirement contribution, they have $6,800 a month. Watch how quickly their life is liquidated. The mortgage on their $380,000 home takes $2,400. Property taxes take $380. Insurance takes $200. A maintenance reserve for the inevitable failure of an HVAC system takes $320. Before they have purchased a single calorie of food, it costs them $3,300 just to legally exist in their own home. Add car payments, insurance, fuel, student loans, health premiums, and basic utilities. They are left with a mere $130. This does not account for clothing, children activities, a medical copay, or a sick pet. They do not own a luxury boat. They have never seen the Mediterranean. They are two professionals who did everything the system told them to do, yet they are one missed paycheck away from a total collapse. Every career move, every request for a flexible schedule, and every dream of starting a side venture is filtered through one suffocating question: can we still cover the mortgage? That question is a background program running in their brains, draining their battery until there is nothing left for innovation or joy. The financial bridge, finding the hidden capital. Now I can hear the objection already. If the builders only have $130 left at the end of the month, how can they possibly accelerate their path to freedom? This is where the elite separate themselves from the average. To bridge the gap between surviving and dominating, you must perform a forensic audit of your life. Most families are bleeding capital through what I call subscription parasites and tax leakage. You are likely paying for digital services you haven't touched in 6 months. You are likely overpaying for insurance because you haven't shopped your rate in 3 years. But the biggest leak is often the tax shield you aren't using correctly. By adjusting your withholdings or maximizing your pre-tax contributions, you can often find an extra $300 to $500 a month that was previously being sent to the government as an interest-free loan. When you combine this with a temporary aggressive reduction in discretionary spending, what we call the war footing, you find the $500 needed to begin the principal attack. It is not about having a surplus. It is about creating one through sheer tactical discipline. You are not looking for extra money. You are reclaiming stolen territory, the logic of sovereign ownership. There is a specific group of people in the financial world who will argue that if your mortgage rate is below 5%, You are a fool to pay it off early. They will show you a spreadsheet proving that the 8% market return beats your 3% debt every time. Mathematically, they are correct. Strategically, they are dangerous. The spreadsheet assumes you actually invest the difference. Real-world data shows that most households simply absorb that extra cash into lifestyle creep within 18 months. Better takeout, a slightly newer car, a more expensive subscription. The arbitrage they talk about is a fantasy for 95% of the population. More importantly, the spreadsheet does not account for a sequence of returns risk. It is easy to talk about 8% returns when the market is green, but what happens when the market drops 40% in the same year you lose your primary income? If you have a mortgage, that 5% mathematical advantage becomes a death sentence. You are forced to sell your depreciated assets at the bottom just to keep the bank from taking your front door. However, if you own your home outright, a 40% market crash is merely a headline. You have a roof, you have security, and you have the psychological liquidity to wait for the recovery. Paying off your mortgage is not just a debt play. It is the highest risk-adjusted return on life you will ever find. It is an insurance policy for your sanity. If you woke up tomorrow and your mortgage was zero, what is the one dream or career move you have been suppressing because you were too afraid of the risk? Share your buried ambition in the comments. Let us see what the system has been hiding. The psychology of silence. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your home on a Tuesday afternoon. There is no mail in the box from a lender. There is no digital notification from a bank. The structure you are standing in belongs entirely to you, from the foundation to the roofline. Think about the refrigerator in your kitchen. You have likely stopped hearing the low hum of its motor, but the moment you unplug it, the silence is profound. Carrying a mortgage is that hum. You have lived with the vibration of that debt for so long that you think the stress is just part of your personality. It is not. When that debt is eliminated, the air in the room feels different. It is a kind of weightlessness that cannot be measured on a balance sheet. The fear of the first of the month evaporates. For the first time in your adult life, you are not a tenant on your own land. You are the sovereign. This silence is the ultimate luxury. It is the ability to walk through your front door and know that no matter what happens in the halls of power or the chaos of the markets, this space is unassailable. You finally regain the cognitive bandwidth to think about legacy instead of just survival, cognitive bandwidth and the biology of debt. The peer-reviewed research is clear. Debt is not just a financial burden, it is a cognitive toxin. A 2019 study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences proved that eliminating debt reduces clinical anxiety symptoms by 25 percentage points. When your debts are gone, you do not just feel better, you become sharper. Participants in debt relief studies showed immediate improvements in cognitive assessments. They became less impulsive. They regained the ability to think long-term. Your body has been keeping the score of every dollar you owe to a faceless institution. High debt-to-asset ratios are correlated with higher blood pressure and clinical depression. This is not a metaphor. Your nervous system is constantly responding to the threat of displacement. When the mortgage is gone, your body finally receives the signal that the hunt is over. You are safe, you are free to heal. Laws of acceleration. Hacking the system. The bank business model is beautiful for the bank. On a $450,000 mortgage at current rates, you will pay over $570,000 in interest alone. You are buying the house once for yourself and once for the bank. To break this, you must use the laws of acceleration. Law 1, the biweekly glitch. By splitting your monthly payment in half and paying every 2 weeks, you end up making 13 full payments a year instead of 12. This simple accounting trick cuts 5 to 6 years off your mortgage and saves you over $119,000 in interest. It costs you nothing in lifestyle. It only costs the bank their profit. Law 2, the principal attack. Adding just $500 a month to your principal payment, the money we found earlier through our forensic audit, shortens your timeline by 8 years and kills $150,000 in interest. Law 3, the tax shield reinvestment. Any tax refund or unexpected windfall should not be seen as a gift. It is a weapon. Deploy it directly against the principal balance. These are not heroic sacrifices. These are strategic strikes. The difference between being free at 52 versus 65 is an entire decade of your life that you actually get to own. The secondary invaders. The hard truth. As your editor-in-chief, I will not lie to you. The house is never truly free. Even when the bank is gone, you face the secondary invaders, property taxes, and insurance. Property taxes have spiked 27% nationally since 2019. In some states, you are paying nearly $800 a month just for the right to remain on your own land. You are, in effect, paying rent to the state in perpetuity. Homeowners insurance has jumped over 50% in the last 4 years. Add the 1% maintenance rule, setting aside 1% of the home value per year for the inevitable day the roof leaks or the water heater explodes, and you realize that a paid-off $400,000 home still costs about $838 to $1,300 a month. You must factor this into your manifesto. The goal is not just to pay off the bank, it is to build a fortress that can withstand the taxman and the elements. Your emergency fund must be robust enough to handle these invaders without breaking your peace. The generational trap, a systemic crisis. We are currently witnessing a terrifying shift in the global financial landscape. In 1989, only 3% of people over the age of 80 still had a mortgage. Today, nearly one-third of that demographic is still in debt to the bank. The average age of mortgage payoff has drifted into the early 60s. Meanwhile, the average age of a first-time homebuyer has climbed to 36. If you follow the traditional 30-year path, you will be making your final payment at 66, the exact moment your physical health begins to decline. We are dragging housing debt into our twilight years at a scale never seen in human history. We are treating it as normal. It is not normal. It is a systemic failure. Only 23% of Americans are truly debt-free. To be part of the elite, you must break the cycle of normal behavior. A sense of suppression. We all have that one thing we stopped doing because we could not afford it or it was too risky with the mortgage hanging over us. For some, it is a hobby. For others, it is spending time with aging parents or traveling to a place that calls to their soul. What have you been sacrificing at the altar of your mortgage? Let it out in the comments. Create the space to reclaim it. The sovereign order of operations. Once the final payment is made and you have confirmed the lien release, do not forget this, as lenders are occasionally incompetent at filing paperwork. You must follow the sovereign order of operations. Do not immediately increase your lifestyle. Rebuild your emergency fund to cover 12 months of your new, lower expenses. You have been house poor for years. It is time to become cash rich. Then deploy your liberated capital in this specific hierarchy. First, maximize any employer match. It is a 100% guaranteed return. Second, maximize your Roth IRA. In 2025, that is $7,000 that the government can never touch again. Third, maximize your 401k or equivalent tax-advantaged accounts. Fourth, fund a health savings account, HSA, if eligible. This is the only triple tax-advantage tool in existence. Finally, pour the remainder into a taxable brokerage account filled with low-cost index funds. If you are redirecting $2,000 a month into this system, you are not just saving money, you are building an engine of freedom that will eventually generate more income than your job ever could. The philosophy of the finish line. The mortgage was never just a bill, it was a permission slip. Every time you wanted to change your life, you had to silently ask the bank for permission. Can I quit? Can I move? Can I rest? The answer was usually no, enforced by the brutal math of the first of the month. For the majority of your adult life, the mortgage is the invisible hand that shapes your character. It makes you more compliant at work. It makes you more risk-averse. It makes you smaller. When the grip releases, you do not just become wealthier, you become the architect of your own reality. The people who reach the finish line the earliest are not those who earn the most. They are those who understood what the silence was worth and ran toward it with singular focus. The asymmetry of risk. For those of you still watching, there is a final truth that most financial advisors are too timid to mention. It is the law of asymmetric risk. When you owe the bank, all the risk is on you. If the economy fails, you lose. If you get sick, you lose. The bank has hedged their risk with your house as collateral, but the moment you own the home outright, the risk flips. You now have a sovereign floor. No matter what happens to the global economy, no matter what happens to the value of the currency, you have a base of operations that cannot be seized. This allows you to take massive, calculated risks in your career and investments that your peers simply cannot afford. The rich do not just have more money, they have the ability to fail without becoming homeless. That is the ultimate cheat code. That is the unfair advantage of the 1%. You can bet on yourself with 100% of your conviction because your survival is no longer tied to a corporate paycheck. If you have understood the gravity of this message and are committed to reclaiming your sovereignty, comment "I am sovereign" below. The path to freedom is narrow, but the destination is silent. Do not just watch this. Take this knowledge and use it as a weapon against the system that wants to keep you treading water. Like this video if it challenged your perspective. Subscribe to join the community of the builders and share this with one person you want to see at the finish line. Now click the video on your screen to learn how to optimize the next phase of your wealth building journey. We will see you in the next one.